Hi guys, welcome back to the Not Carrie Bradshaw YouTube channel / podcast where I discuss all things style, wellness, pop culture, and whatever else comes up from week to week. As per usual, we have to kick everything off with a fashion segment because y'all know that is my first love. So I have decided to come up with a series on my Substack about fashions that really impacted not only my sense of style, but the collective fashion world as a whole. So it's just like these fashions that I just never forgot. For example, um, like when you have a love of something, you kind of see it everywhere. It's like how they say that like cathedrals are everywhere for those with eyes to see. That's me with fashion. So growing up, I absolutely loved music videos like anyone else of my generation. And the fashions always kind of stuck with me in ways that it only stuck with other like fellow fashion people, right? So example, Mariah Carey's Honey video. They zoom in on a shoe, it's a pump that I was like, as a kid, I was like, that's the best thing I've ever seen in my life. And I never forgot that shoe. And as an adult, I wound up getting a pump by Cassidy that's very similar to that shoe. So I'm just going to be sharing like some of those, like some of my favorite, I guess you could call them vintage, yeah, fashion moments that really imprinted on me, kind of defined my style and impacted others. So I will be putting a link to my Substack newsletter in the episode description. So be sure to check that out. Show your girl a little support. It's free, okay? So just calm down. Jesus, I didn't ask you for no money yet. I mean, you can join the Patreon or whatever. I'm not gonna stop you from joining the Patreon. I would like for you to join the Patreon, but there ain't no pressure or nothing about you joining the Patreon. Join the Patreon. So in this episode, I have to share with you guys, I got to meet one of my favorite artists in the whole wide world this week, Gucci Mane. I love me some fat Gucci. I love skinny Gucci. I'm so proud of him and everything that he's doing. But we have to discuss some of the interviews that have come out around his book launch and a couple of other things about Black men's mental health that's being discussed in the zeitgeist right now. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Okay, guys, so as you may or may not know, I am fun employed, okay? And I'm making the most of this time until I get to my next professional location. In the interim, you'll be getting a lot more content. In that vein, I was minding my business, procrastinating on doing my laundry like I always do. Living in Brooklyn as a person who is not wealthy yet, I don't have laundry in my unit. And I have to say that it's something that I would really like to have. I'm not going to hold you. It's one of the few things that bothers me about living here is that I don't. It's something I didn't realize was even a luxury because I always grew up with it in my home. That's not a flex. That's just to say sometimes you have privileges you don't even realize you have. That's neither here nor there. So procrastinating on doing my laundry, I woke up, I'm scrolling, and I see Gucci Mane says that he's going to be at the Barnes & Noble on 5th Avenue at noon to sign copies of his new book. And at the time, I needed my hair done. I needed to do laundry. But I was like, I have to support Guwap because this is New York. And so in my mind, I was like, ain't nobody going to show up for him here. And color me surprised. I got there. There was already a line. Super proud of him. Super happy for him. This is the book. I purchased it. I got an autograph. I was very nervous. There was a person there who was mentally unstable who made like a whole scene. It was crazy. It's on social media. And so he is on this book tour where he's talking about his mental health and how he has like his diagnosis, his recovery, how he's moving forward. Gucci Mane is somebody who I started listening to in college around maybe 2007, 2006, something like that. And Gucci would put out so many mixtapes. So he has a really extensive catalog. And I just have so many fond memories of the Gucci pre-diagnosis, pre-healing. And when he got out of jail, I just felt again, just like happy for him and proud of him. And also, this is a part of a larger pattern of these artists from my hometown. Because y'all know I take a huge amount of pride in being a Black American girl from Atlanta, okay? The seat of all culture, as far as I'm concerned. And my favorite rapper is Young Dro. Young Dro has been very vocal about his struggle with sobriety and prioritizing his mental health. And recently, Lil Jon was on The Breakfast Club talking about how he has evolved as a man and how he has become more spiritual, practicing more mindfulness, encouraging people to get into therapy. And he has this like meditation album. And this makes me so happy as a person who is also from Atlanta, who grew up listening to these guys' music. And Lil Jon was even talking about like how um, he became Lil Jon of Lil Jon and the East Side Boys and now where he is. But one of the things that I love the most about my hometown, I believe in Southern rap supremacy. I don't care how nobody feels about that. I grew up listening to bass music, and he talks about Lil Jon talks about how this is like a total aside, but I just have to share it because it makes me happy. They used to do this thing where they would take an a cappella version of an R&B song and put it over a bass mix, and it is still to this day one of my absolute favorite things in the world. It makes me so happy. I listen to it when I'm working out, like when I'm doing cardio. If I ever need to just lift my spirits, I literally listen to bass music in the same way that I sometimes listen to crunk music to get through a cardio workout. And the fact that Lil Jon is and was instrumental to both of those genres, it just, again, I have so much pride in being from Atlanta, and I'm so happy that these guys are still with us and that they are thriving and that they're doing well, because there are some artists who didn't get here. There are some people who didn't get here. One of the things that makes me so sad about people who I've lost in my life is that I will never get to see the person they were going to grow into. You know, it's a gift to be able to grow old, and I'm happy that we get to see that, right? So, in watching Gucci Mane's interview with his wife Keisha Kayor, if you were tapped into, I don't know, Instagram or like what was it called? Like Nicole Bitchy before she transitioned to XO Nicole. If you were a part of like the blog era, or, you know, what is it, Concrete Loop, whatever, those spaces, you were familiar with Keisha Kayor. Like she's kind of just like been around like for beauty and her body, just all kinds of things. And so to see them get married and to be happy, it like it's just like this beautiful, just like hood story of, you know, him going to jail, giving her all his money to protect, and you know, she's been like his ride or die, right? And there's kind of this fantasy around their relationship, or this lore around their relationship. And she talks very candidly about the things that she has done to get him diagnosed, to get him treatment, to keep him on the straight and narrow. And as she's talking about these care plans that they have in place, and, you know, if she senses that he's going into an episode, I haven't started the book yet, but I can't tell if he has bipolar disorder or schizophrenia or a combo special, but it's some sort of, you know, mental illness along those lines. And, you know, Gucci talks about getting on medication and getting in therapy because he's, you know, become a father and he wants to be a present and active father for his children. Um, and Keisha talks about like when she can tell that an episode is coming, these like warning signs or these markers, how she, you know, takes his phone, changes the password to his phone so that he can't, you know, send these harassing text messages and tweets and stuff like that. And on the one hand of that, right, it's very beautiful to see that kind of partnership and to see that kind of care for another person. As she's talking, this goes from sounding like a nurturing relationship to sounding more maternal. And they started, you know, asking her, like, well, what do you do for self care? Are you in therapy? And she says, I am the therapist. I'm a really strong person. You know, he needs me. Like, I'm a stronger person than he is because of this illness. And even like kind of the language around that I don't love. I don't think that having mental illness makes you weak per se, but I knew what she was getting at. And they even tried to ask her again on the Breakfast Club, like, well, what do you do? And she just kept turning it back onto him. And I said, well, maybe it's because it's his interview, but I was kind of sitting with that, and I'm listening to how she talks about the way she takes care of him. And she also, is very clear that he takes very good care of her as well. But I'm thinking about the fact that you have two small children, aside from the older children that she has, and there was some scandal about that. That's not what we're here to discuss. But she has two small children. She has businesses that she runs, and she is kind of like a full-time caretaker for Gucci, making sure that he stays on the straight and narrow. That sounds like a very heavy lift. And it made me think about, like, we're celebrating this, but then we have a level of critique or criticism for someone like Jasmine Brown, who is Cam Newton's girlfriend slash baby mama. And I was like, okay, what's the difference here? It's a couple of things. Number one, Gucci is married to Keisha Kayor. He has a lot of respect and deference and trust in her. Their relationship seems very reciprocal, and there is a partnership there. He seems to really respect her and trust her as a person. We haven't seen that with Cam and his girlfriend slash baby mama. He doesn't seem as committed, as invested, as deferential to her as what we've seen of Keisha and Gucci. And it just doesn't seem reciprocal. I remember that when the episode came out where Jasmine was talking about how her biggest flex is how she takes care of her man. And I was like, wow, that seems crazy to me. And I've been thinking a lot about how, as a woman, you can have these different things that are in like your wheelhouse of joy. I cannot relate to um, a huge part of my story being a romantic relationship, because that's just not how my life has worked out. I've been single far more than I've been partnered. So I try to look at things holistically, like all things being held constant. And y'all know I am big on coming at things with curiosity over conviction. So looking at Keisha and Gucci's relationship, looking at their marriage, looking at their partnership, I see the beauty in it. And I still believe that every woman needs a wife. That's something that Amy Poehler said in her book. Every woman needs a wife, and that can come in the form of nannies, cleaners, therapists. Like, you can have like a lot of different things, but women need support in order to be that kind of support system for a family. Like, overwhelmingly, women perform the emotional labor for their families and the administrative labor for their families. And you can't just do that and never have anyone holding you up if you're holding everyone else up. Now, I will say, patriarchy is a global experience. But from my experience, having a lot of Caribbean friends, especially since I moved to New York, um, Jamaicans are especially patriarchal. That is an extremely patriarchal culture. So I'm also considering the fact that for Keisha, maybe this is a cultural thing of this is how you take care of your partner. And she may be the kind of person who simply does not need a lot of tending to emotionally. I have relatives, family members, friends who are just internal processors. They don't need to talk out their issues with anyone but themselves. She could very well be one of those people, right? I don't know her, but I could not help but wonder, just thinking that there are 24 hours in the day. How are you finding the time to be all of this to him and to your children and to whatever other obligations you have in your life, and have anything left over for yourself? And again, I really do think that for some women, being a homemaker, a caretaker, that could completely be your wheelhouse of joy. You really may not need much more than that. But objectively, I do question where those women find, how do you have an identity? Like, how do you have any sense of yourself just as a person if your whole life is devoted to caretaking of others. That's just something that I'm very curious about. And what I recognized about myself in my past relationship was the extent to which I started to feel like a mother to my partner. And I was asking a friend, because I don't like to speak on married people business too much. I think that relationships are not cookie cutter. I think that people are allowed to construct their relationship to whatever works for them, right? And whatever works for their lifestyle. Um, and them as a person and their values. There is no one way to be partnered. You have to find what works for you. And this seems to work for Keisha and Gucci. This is just me as an observer, right? I am so curious about the difference between being nurturing and being maternal. I think that all people should be socialized to nurture each other and to nurture themselves. But I was trying to think, what was the switch flip for me where I was like, this is not nurturing. This is not how I would care for any person in my life. This is me. I feel like I'm a mom here. And I think that the difference there is the reciprocity. It's the expectation of, or the experience of reciprocity. Children cannot reciprocate to their parents. And I'm even saying that because I recognize that for some people culturally, the expectation is to take care of your parents as they get older. I don't mean that. I'm saying that you can never repay your parents for giving you life. And your parents, when they make a decision when they were able to make a decision to become parents, their obligation was to provide for you. Their obligation was to create a sustainable life for you to develop into a healthy, well-adjusted adult. There is no way to actually reciprocate that. You can't give life back to your parents, right? So that's where it is. Like, that's the difference. It's the expectation of reciprocity. It's not tit for tat, but it's that I'm holding you up because I know that you are capable of holding me up should something happen. Or if there are, like, I don't believe that relationships of any kind can be 50-50 because life doesn't work that way. There may be times where you have to put forth more effort because your partner is experiencing something where they can't meet you halfway. That's just life, right? So it's not a tit for tat, but it is the expectation of and the experience of reciprocity that separates mothering from nurturing. And I think that that line gets blurred for some people because a lot of people believe that to be a good woman is to be nurturing, whereas it should be to be a good person. You believe in nurturing the people around you. It shouldn't be a gendered expectation. Like, the things that make us a good woman versus the things that make us that make men good men, there's such a huge divide there. And I think that people just expect for women to be long suffering, for women to give and give and give and pour into others because it's how we are hardwired to be. And overwhelmingly, that's because we have been socialized to be that way. And in 2025, I want us to just look at those things holistically, that even if you make a decision that you find the most joy in your life, being a homemaker, being a stay-at-home mom, or anything along those lines, you need to also be taken care of in a way that does not, like, your well-being shouldn't be contingent upon how that man feels about you from one day to the next. That's where I always get afraid, especially like when we look at the rise in trad wife content. If you want to be a stay-at-home wife, that's all well and good. But if that man decides that he don't like your eyebrows one day and he want to put you out, and you have not been a part of the workforce for 10 years, and now you need to try to figure out how you're going to explain that gap in your resume or build up skills that you didn't feel like you needed to build because you felt like you could escape capitalism through this relationship, then what? What do you do then? So I am very much in favor of have the life that you want, but make sure that there are some structures in place so that if that man decides that he don't like your lace front that day, you're not destitute. You and your kids aren't destitute. I just don't think that you can like fully rely on someone in that way. And that's not related to Gucci and Keisha. That's just me, like, as an aside. Like, how do you feel safe or comfortable putting your financial well-being in the hands of someone else. So yeah, I was just watching their interviews, and again, I feel so much joy and pride and well wishes in Gucci for overcoming so many of the things that he has. I'm very excited to read the book and seeing how great of a partner Keisha has been to him has been so integral in his healing. But I also want to say a huge part of why their relationship works is because he took accountability and he decided that he wanted to get help and he made a choice. She was there to facilitate and to help out, but that awareness was activated within him. And I just don't want women to believe the myth that if you're a good enough woman, you can change a man. People change because they want to change. It's not about you. Gucci decided he wanted to change and he wanted to heal, to be a better father and to be a better partner, to be a better husband, to mature and to grow into a man that he is proud of. That is beautiful. And just looking at and listening to her saying everything that she has had to do to facilitate that journey for him, it just sounded like so much. And I hope that she has some kind of additional support in her life on her side to hold her up as she's holding him up. So just things that I was thinking about, what it means to be a caretaker of a partner, what it means to be a caretaker of people, period. Right now, my mom has transitioned into being a caretaker of my grandmother, and I have to constantly remind her, don't forget about you. I think maybe that's what I'm getting at. I've seen so many women forget about themselves in pursuit of being a good woman, that their life becomes about everyone except for them. And I struggle to believe that anyone was put on this earth to be of service to this one person, or to these couple of people. I think that we should all be of service, like to each other. Y'all know I believe very much in like living communally. When it comes to women, I am just so protective of us having the space to pursue purpose. And your purpose, again, very much could be tied to being a wife and motherhood. And that's valid and that's beautiful. But I just don't want women to forget themselves. Feel like I'm rambling. Anywho, that's it for this episode. Be sure to like and comment and subscribe and rate and review and share and do all of the things, and join the Patreon so you can help me during my fun employment. And I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.